And hello, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. I am currently your only host, but your host, Lauren Gray, with show number 97 of This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing, where every week for now almost 2 years, we have come to you sharing this week's current news, tools, techniques, general dialogue, great guest hosts, all associated with hospitality, digital marketing, what to do with it, and what you should be concerned with and using. Now, as I wait for my other host, hopefully to join me here soon, we have quite a nice assortment of topics to discuss today. I'm just confirming with all of my other live presentations for those who discover us via our invitation on email or via our Facebook page, that we do have Facebook Live running at this time. We also have Periscope, which is Twitter, running live at this time. And we also have YouTube running live at this time. And with me, I think, is Mr. Robert Cole coming into the game here. At least there he is. Good morning, Mr. Robert.
Well, good morning.
I am really, today has been a fun day. I was up very late last night working on an epiphany that panned out, and I'll share that with you.
Drinking heavily again. How are you?
Epiphany, buzz, I don't know. It could be an either or proposition to that process. But
dude, it was so real, man.
Maybe I should move to Denver and just switch from drinking alcohol to doing legal substances, I guess. Maybe that would be an improvement. But no, I was just saying, show 97, we're coming with show 100, which is July 7th. And then in August, I think the second show in August will be our 2-year mark. Faithfully and with commitment and purpose every week. Rain, sleet, shine, travel have been somewhere. Whoops, I think I just lost your visual for a second.
I'm still here. Hang on. I'm trying to do something with the bandwidth here. Hang on.
He's messing with his band. While you're doing that, I'm going to change over our YouTube Live to being a public broadcast, which won't be a problem. But I did put the headliner for today because it is of newsworthiness. You actually were the one that inspired this conversation. And I made the term statement, Hyatt and Goliath, or Expedia. Is it IHG Part 2 or just a negotiation tactic? There was an article that you had used, and I had decided to unabashedly take along with it, about what's really happening, what should be perceived in this Hyatt standing against the giant mentality when it comes to their stance on saying, hey, if we don't get the terms we want, we're not going to be with you anymore. We're not going to give you inventory anymore.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting approach. I don't think Hyatt really wants to leave. My theory would be that Hyatt wants to get better terms from Expedia. And they're willing to, at least make the threat of pulling the plug. It'll be interesting to see. I think the most interesting point will be if Expedia calls their bluff, basically, because I guess the risk would be for Expedia that the other hotel companies all follow, but I would think many of the other hotel companies, especially those that are competitive with Hyatt, go, this is great. Maybe we just pop up our Expedia spend a little bit or whatever, and let's go pull in some Hyatt people. Hyatt, I think there's the timing of this, I would see is somewhat problematic for Hyatt, because they no longer have Jeff Zidell, who left, now World of Hyatt, formerly Gold Passport. So they repositioned their whole loyalty program. The leader of that is no longer there, and not really. I know Jeff. I haven't talked to him about it. Nobody's really sure exactly what happened. What happened with that transition. There have been lots of complaints from Hyatt loyalty members that the new program is very good for the top select group, but pretty miserable for not just the long tail, but kind of the mid tail and part of the neck as well, sort of thing. So that's not necessarily a great situation for Hyatt from a timing perspective either. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the things that are certainly going for them are, this is peak occupancy, record occupancies, record ADRs from the hotel industry, and we'll see. But I think it's going to be see what happens. My feeling is it will probably get resolved, and that things will turn out, and in July the plug won't be pulled. But it from Expedia's perspective, okay, Hyatt's an important player, but when you look at a total share of business, I think there are a lot fewer Hyatt hotels than people believe there to be. It's in the top 10, but in terms of numbers of properties and rooms and things like that, it's not like a Marriott or a Hilton or something like that, so, or an IHG. So I think it'll be very, very interesting. I also don't know the degree that Hyatt was playing with Expedia before. If there were challenges and Expedia was pushing them down the sort order and that sort of thing. I just think this will be a very, very interesting case study, because I also think from a development perspective, it's going to be very interesting in terms of other hotel groups out there wanting to poach Hyatts and say, hey, owners, if you don't like the way Hyatt's doing this and cutting off Expedia, come work with us. Come into our soft brand. Here's a simple transition. So I think it's a fascinating story, and we'll see how the drama plays out. But I could very much see Expedia playing hardball to kind of make a point of market power, and basically saying, hey, you want to drop out? We're really sorry. We wanted to work with you, but these are our terms, and we're going to take all that business that we aggregate and shift it to other groups. And hey, you know what? That doesn't really impact our bookings much. We're still making the same amount of money. You just aren't getting any of it.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know when the other groups are up for their renewals. If there's an extended gap, nobody else's majors getting renewed for a year or 18 months. That wouldn't be good for if all of a sudden it's here are a couple of other guys right behind them, then that becomes problematic for Expedia. But I don't know. I think both groups need to really look at their customer bases and see, is this a good move for a Hyatt, a Hyatt guest? And if it isn't, Hyatt shouldn't do that. So.
Yeah, no, it seems interesting that, like you said, there is a bit of a vulnerability shift change at the top for Hyatt at this moment, because with the changes that are going on, is this problematic? Is there somebody that's trying to roar as a lion to get the attention to be that point? Mr. Tim, a pleasant good morning, sir.
How are you?
Oh, good. Catch you up to what we're at right now. We're talking about, as I said, Hyatt and Goliath or Expedia. Is this IHG Part 2 or just a negotiation tactic? And Mr. Robert was giving us some great insights as to some changes I was not completely aware of. I knew there was changes, but not in particular to whom and for what, as to the opportunistic value of other competitors saying, maybe given current circumstances, this is the time to pounce and maybe take a Hyatt's share. If Hyatt's going to, if Expedia is going to call Hyatt's bluff, if it is a bluff, maybe it's maybe it's beyond a negotiation strategy. Maybe it's time for us somebody put a stick in the sand and say direct is best, and we're going to get off this OTA ride. And anyway, I'm just trying to act like I'm actually thinking that's what I would think, but.
My only take on the story at this point, and I realize I just walked in late, but my only take on the story is at least the first place I saw it reported was eHotelier.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed in their tone. And I don't mean to bash the media, because there's a lot of that going around these days, and probably not appropriately.
Fake news.
No, but their tone was basically, Hyatt's wrong, right? It was very this is bad for owners in lots and lots and lots of ways and stuff like that. And I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think there are obviously some short-term implications for owners, and I think that is something owners should be aware. I think there's also something to be said of when IHG did this years ago and had it blow up in their faces, there may be some short-term pain in exchange for long-term gain. So, I think owners need to look at this and say, is this something that will benefit us in the long run because we can get a better deal with Expedia? Is there something that will benefit us in the long run because we can drive more business direct? And maybe Hyatt's just flat out wrong and they shouldn't be, being right. I don't want to make this that, Hyatt absolutely will be right and Expedia is absolutely wrong. And I don't want to make it that Expedia is absolutely right and Hyatt's absolutely wrong. But I thought the way it was written up in eHotelier made it very much like, wow, this is a big risk for Hyatt to take. This is just going to be bad for owners no matter how you slice it and things like that. And I thought that was an odd framing of the discussion.
Yeah.
I think we are far too, I think as an industry, we don't do enough to, or we're far too short-term motivated sometimes and don't look at the longer term and the bigger picture and things like that. And that's my only real thought on this is that, Hyatt, I think, is trying to do the right thing for the longer term. And if they end up being correct, that can have a lot of benefit to the owners of their properties in the longer run. But obviously, we'll have to see.
Well, and actually looking up some stats, I'll use last year's Hotels Magazine every July publishes their 325, which are the largest 300 hotel groups in the top 25 consortia.
Yep.
And with that, and actually I've always been a critic of how they do it. They intermix brands and management companies, which really involves a lot of duplication when you have interstate businesses. Yeah. But Hyatt is number 14.
Right.
So Hyatt has 605 properties.
Right.
Average size 267 rooms. So on average they're a little bit larger. If you look at Marriott, Marriott now, if you include Starwood, has 5,800 properties. Actually, I think they're a little bit higher, but this is last year's numbers. 5,800 properties, averaging 196 rooms. So a little bit smaller, but almost 10x the size of Hyatt.
Right.
You look at Hilton. Hilton has 4,500 properties.
Do they have Wyndham Hotel Group listed as Wyndham Hotel Group?
Yeah. Wyndham Hotel Group has 7,800 properties. Now the average size is 87 rooms.
Right, is much smaller. Is about two
right.
thirds.
Yeah, but
that.
Or if you look at the number of rooms, maybe that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, rooms.
Marriott is over 1.1 million. Hilton is over 750,000. IHG is over 750,000. Wyndham is about 678,000, sort of thing, right? Accor is over 500,000. Choice is over 500,000, right? These are large groups. Hyatt is 161,000.
So what you're saying is they're screwed?
Well, I mean, in their strata are more like Carlson, right? Best Western has 200,000 rooms, so they're a little bit higher, sort of things. But again, that's a tough situation. Now, again, Hyatt at least their full service properties, and certainly Hyatt Centrics are they're doing very, very well. Hyatt Places are doing very nicely. The redone Hyatt Houses, all that's going very well. Those don't do a lot of group. Mainstream Hyatts do a lot of group business. Very, very high proportion of their businesses group. So that's going to kind of reduce the impact of the OTAs.
Oh, for sure.
And certainly they have less OTA business than most independents and things like that, who tend to skew much, much higher. But again, I guess it really comes down to what is Hyatt winning versus what they're losing.
Right.
And
well, boy,
I don't.
That's if you're a typical Hyatt. I mean, we're going to back of the envelope this for a second, right? If you're a typical Hyatt, what percentage of your room nights are OTA?
I would say somewhere 10-15% probably.
Right, 10% at the low end, 20% at the high end in all likelihood, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What percentage of your OTA business is Expedia?
Hyatt, since they do skew, at least in terms of rooms, more North American, it's going to be 60, 70. I don't know. It could be.
Yeah, that sounds fair. So I'm just going to do some quick ranges here, right? So you're a 250 room property, typically, right?
Yeah.
250 times point.
You really do have to look at that as the difference between the suburban Hyatt places and things like you've got these large mega, central city, classic atrium, properties and things like that, group oriented. So they really are, bifurcated. So
right. I mean, you're talking 22 rooms a night at a 250 room property that's getting 15% of their business from, OTA, and 60% of that from Expedia.
Right.
Can you offset that 22 rooms through direct channels, through Booking, through TripAdvisor, through Meta, through
at a lower cost of acquisition?
At a lower cost of acquisition? I don't know. I think you can. I don't think that's a huge number to overcome at least the vast majority of, right?
So where are you getting them from, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, sure.
Are you creating new demand for people to stay in hotels? Possibly not.
No. Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah. So you're pulling it from somewhere. Right. Are you pulling it from Airbnb? I don't think so.
No,
I don't think I think it's just kind of where you got to yank it out of somebody else.
Right.
So
that's absolutely right. Right. But I've never thought that hotels create demand.
Well, actually, there's
I shouldn't
one.
Say never. I think hotels rarely generate demand, especially.
My gut feeling is that Hyatt may be feeling, and maybe they did some research on this, and maybe they feel this is it. If they cut off Expedia, they will get a vast majority of those 22 rooms anyway, because people are Expedia is just taking orders. Mm-hmm. They aren't, these are brand loyal Hyatt people who intend to stay at that property, and Expedia isn't steering the business. So there will be some portion of those 22 rooms. So maybe we can narrow it down even below that, where you say, I don't know if that's 5.
Right.
I don't think it's 20. I don't think it's 15, but maybe that's 5 of the rooms where people go, no, I'm staying at the Hyatt. And that's it.
Right. But I think, if let's say you can get 15 of those rooms back, right, through other channels, through direct, through competing more aggressively, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It's just a question. So 7 lost rooms per night. What's ADR for Hyatt? Ballpark? Or RevPAR?
I don't know. I should go look at their.
It's probably about $100, right?
Oh no, it's over that. It's got to be. I bet they're
RevPAR.
Oh, I'm sorry, RevPAR. Yeah, sorry. I was stuck on the first part, ADR.
I did say ADR first. You're absolutely right. Oh yep. ADR, they're probably 229 or something like that, or 189 or
189 is probably what I was going to guess at if I threw a dart at it.
All right.
I'll find out real quick. Keep going.
Yeah. So so you lose 7 rooms. Somehow you bring back 7 rooms, right? $189 times 30 nights, let's say, times 0.8, because they're giving 20% to Expedia. That's $30,000, $31,000, $32,000 to the property in lost top line revenue, for a month, right? It's $1,000 a day. That's a big number, right?
Right. Yep.
Now the question is, can they make that up, or can they survive that for a time, or you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I had given a little bit of thought because the part you missed, Tim, earlier with Robert. I told him I had an epiphany last night, and I stayed up until 1 o'clock building it, which I was going to share with you guys on the show today. But there is a math way to analyze this. First off, Robert, if you haven't thought of a way of analyzing this, then I can guarantee Hyatt has it, because I don't know if anybody's smarter than you that would be doing this any differently. Okay, so
I wouldn't go that far. But
I would, dude. Let's put it this way: you are my benchmark when it comes to somebody doing research. Oh yeah, I'm going to go talk to Robert.
Let's dig into something really esoteric nobody else cares about. Hey, Robert, dude, look at that.
No, dude. I know. I dig my heels on that one, dude. If I want to know something about what's going on when it comes to that stuff, you're it. But from a math point of view, if we want to look at some value propositions of how to possibly determine this, is using an attribution string and doing a decay time model. Okay, because really the value proposition of knowing when they impact, how long the duration through the attribution string, when do they resurface during the attribution string to reaffirm their value proposition in the attribution string. If you did a time decay attribution string as to OTA engagement, and with the resources that Hyatt should have, they better be structured this way, of knowing that over a period of X time to determine the actual value proposition of reclaimable inventory that OTAs are driving to you. To your point, Tim, how much of that business can we really say we influenced well enough or can influence well enough with the removal of Expedia to recapture? There should be a math number in there that says our recapture percentage is X, the revenue generated from that is Y, the value impact is this, the cost savings versus cost loss is this. There should be a way to look at that, just looking at that type of interpretation of an attribution string.
However, one caveat: are they attracting these people by giving like 10% off their rate? Right.
But with the latitude of the cost going away, there has to be a math calculation to that too.
20% margin that they're giving to Expedia.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
so to say, hey, if we have to toss that out, it's still half again is better.
Hang on, that's a very good point. If Hyatt is giving up 20% to Expedia, if that's the yes, they need to cut that off and have a really good discussion.
That's right. By the way, that's why I'm back of the enveloping this, right?
Yeah, but it's got to be
the way the article's written.
It needs to be dramatically lower than that, because that's where the big guys are, and maybe Expedia isn't being as fair and that sort of thing. But again, then it's going to be a game of okay, I don't know who's been negotiating this stuff, but if it's at 20, they've been doing a markedly worse job than any other major hotel group.
The flip side is they have, as you just said yourself, under 200,000 rooms, right? And there are 150,000 rooms, something like that.
Right.
They don't bring as much to the table that Expedia wants as the big guys do.
Well, you also have to put in that modifier too of how many times did they exploit the extra boosting of the wonderful opportunities that Expedia gives you to redefine your positioning in the results. And how many times did they bang that little red button like a monkey to go over and say, oh, we need to boost, for the very same reason you just mentioned. I'm low in market presence. I need to push myself in market presence. So let me hit that big red button.
Yeah, or did they, Expedia, this was a number of years ago, when they were coming out with the option, I can't remember the name of it. It was the traveler's choice option or whatever, where you could do it as commissionable or that.
Right.
There were opportunities to take haircuts on your merchant margin in exchange for maybe a little bit higher commission, relative to like a Booking.com or something like that, right? So they may have passed on that too. And again, maybe a lot of this is skewing. It's generally still skewing merchant, is my understanding. But I don't know. There may be certain things that, yes, they need a better deal because they did a crappy job negotiating earlier.
Well, or they
which isn't necessarily Expedia's fault.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Exactly. Right. Realistically, at least if the article is correct, the article basically makes it sound as though they've got a 20% margin, whether it's in actual margin or whether it's in total cost of distribution is sort of irrelevant, right? It's costing them 20 points of margin every time they do a sale.
Right.
That's not sustainable. That's a terrible place to be. Remember, how many properties does Hyatt own and manage, or own rather?
I can probably find that out too.
But ballpark of that,
they generally own more than the other the other groups. They have certainly a stronger ownership presence. So
right, but for all the ones that aren't owned, right, all those franchise properties, they're going to lose those guys as deals come up. If owner A is paying 20% to Hyatt and they're paying 15% on Marriott or 15% on Intercon, right?
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Oh yeah.
Big number. And they have some long-term, negatives to their overall business if they don't do this. I'm not going to call out Hyatt. I'm actually concerned about any of the smaller guys remaining standing as standalone players, right? Because we've been talking about this tons of times in terms of consolidation.
Oh, hang on. Wait, to answer your question.
Yeah.
According to 2016 annual report, now I'll see if they have another little chart, which I couldn't find quickly. They're saying they own 35 properties and manage another 35 manager franchise properties that are owned or leased by unconsolidated hospitality. So that's only 70, which
Right.
is
So 70 basically owned or managed properties
yeah.
out of 500, let's call it.
Right.
So that's 430 franchisees who are going, why the hell am I paying 20% to Expedia and paying your franchise fees at the same time? Oh,
Right.
And in that same eHotelier article, they noted that Marriott is raising their fees to properties.
Yeah.
You know,
well, and I think
not a sustainable reality.
Right. And I believe Marriott's raising their fees because Hilton was leading Marriott in terms of its fees. So I think Marriott's going, wait a second, we are bigger now and we've got something we can now leverage.
Right.
That.
But how does Hyatt justify that?
Right.
When they're also getting a worse cost of distribution.
Yeah. Oh, and 80% of the owned and leased properties are full service hotels in top markets. So those are the big, the Regencies and stuff. The places, all the others are all franchise, which again are very good hotels. I mean, Hyatt places are great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't want any of this to sound like, that that these are bad properties or things like that. I'm saying the owners of those properties, have got to be beating up, Hyatt saying, dude, what the hell?
Right.
I think this is a no-brainer that it's something Hyatt has to attempt.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see whether or not they succeed.
Right.
But I don't think they have a better option here. If they can't come to terms, they got to play hardball.
Well,
they're in deep trouble.
And this may be a situation where I've always looked at Hyatt, even though it's publicly traded, as being an acquisition candidate. If this doesn't work, I would say if this doesn't work, Hyatt's out and acquired.
I completely and utterly agree.
Straight out. So the stakes are pretty damn high.
Right. So. I completely agree, Robert.
Quick question with this. Okay, so just take that for a little bit farther on the conversation with this. Could this be a self-induced play? You know what? For the shifting and changing you pointed out earlier, Robert, as to what's going on internally with Hyatt, the stockholders, the ownerships, the board has decided, let's play ourselves against ourselves. Let's create this scenario, push, albeit maybe a bluff, maybe not, maybe let's see how far we can get with this to negotiate, make our negotiations work. If it fails, we, quote, stumble, we go in the open market so that we can then start jacking up value proposition to this, get acquired, and they get to go back to the well anyway, going, hey, those guys didn't know what they were doing. We're now the new owner. Here we are.
I think there's easier ways to get there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just making a hypothetical. I'm not saying that's
to get there.
By any stretch. Yeah.
This isn't clear cut accretive to their share price. I don't know.
This is. I think this is. How do we remain a standalone going concern on, as a company? How do we retain our franchised properties? How do we retain market position and the like? And I think Robert's right. This is very high stakes because if this does not succeed, I think the answers to those questions are we don't. We're screwed. Right? But I don't think this is a Machiavellian play of what's the best way to put ourselves up for sale. I don't know that this is the way I would go.
Again, I was a hypothetical string, but sometimes the implausible, how irrational, if albeit the truth, is still the path. Anyway,
well, the flip side of that is never ascribe to malice that which can be more adequately summed up by incompetence.
Well, that's always been put into question by our dialogue with most companies anyway. We've often questioned the competence of some of the decisions that go on. But
no. I say that, tongue in cheek. I don't think the folks, in all fairness, I don't think the folks running Hyatt are incompetent. I think this is a sign of the fact that they're not incompetent. I think that they are likely doing this because they recognize they're not in the best market position. If they don't do something,
they're making a bold. They are making a bold decision, and I'm sure it's a well-informed, bold decision. The question for them is it going to work? Right.
That's exactly right.
That's
in this circumstance, I would say I agree with you, Robert, that it is probably a well-informed decision that they have done the homework to make this statement. But I would say, in extension to what you said, Tim, that quality of competence is based on information based on the decisions. And we too often see in the politics of corporate structure, or unfortunately the oligarchies associated with them, that the level of truth doesn't always rise to the level of decision.
I disagree. I will tell you, I work with a lot of companies, and I'm brought in by a lot of companies who are in a lot of trouble, right? I mean, realistically, by the time most people call in consultants, it's because things aren't going well. Right? It's very rare. It's very rare consultants get called because people are like, everything's awesome, right? I mean,
Everything
that's just not
awesome.
how it tends to work, right? And in my experience, maybe I'm just an optimist, but I will tell you, most of the time, you can see why people made the decisions that they did make. They made those decisions in good faith, given the data that was available to them at the time they made those decisions. And for whatever reason, they didn't work, right? And so now they do need help.
No, that's a true statement. I'm not saying that's not a true statement. I'm saying that on the opposite of that, and taking your same predication that consultants don't get brought in during optimum times, although we know that to be possible too.
Oh, yeah, it definitely occurs. It's just
sometimes it's a but sometimes a political move. I need reinforcements for my position, so let me bring an outside source that's going to be heard rather than the internal sources that aren't. But I'm saying that there are times, as in any infrastructure of any organization, governmental or business-based, that a decision is made whether to include or exclude data that they determine is relevant or irrelevant as it moves up to the chain of decision. And sometimes through the layers, there is a lack of competency. There may be a competency at the top, but there is a level of competency at the bottom, which is fudgy, that they didn't start with the right predications or content. And despite the best decision processes, it was based on bad content.
Oh, sure. No, of course that occurs. Of course that occurs. In this specific case, looking at this purely from the outside, I have no inside view to this. I have worked for large hotel companies that have had to negotiate these deals, including for a very large hotel company at the time when IHG did their play. I've worked for smaller hotel companies that tried to do these deals. And I can tell you, usually we knew what we were trying to do. It was a combination of what were the short-term hits for playing hardball, right? And how is that going to affect the decisions made by I always worked for soft brands and franchisors, right? So we didn't own the properties. So we had, our constituents were the hotel owners and the hotel management companies. Mm-hmm. And so, we had to do what was best for them. But sometimes to do that, you had to do something that was bad for them, right? Right now, Hyatt, if they get dropped from Expedia, they're going to lose $1,000 a day. Probably. I mean, we back of the envelope that.
Actually, I got their RevPAR.
There you go.
Which was I should have really said my number because I thought it was going to be higher, and it was higher than even my guess, because I was going to guess 150, like 151. It's actually 170. Hyatt's ADR is 222, and then the other side is their occupancy 76.7, which is very, very strong.
That's outstanding. Okay,
right. So but with one caveat on the occupancy, probably not a lot of structural upside on that, right? So they might be very limited by having an opportunity and saying that's okay. We're going to make it up with volume, right? We're going to take a little bit of a haircut, but we'll cut the prices. We'll go through and do this. If they do that, they're going to start diluting themselves and basically knocking out some existing business at higher ADRs. So
that's right. Well, and I'm doing some hand waving and saying they're able to reclaim 15 of these 22 lost rooms per day, right?
Yeah.
The number I used was 189. You came back with 170. It changed the numbers from a little over $1,000 to a little under $1,000 per day.
Yeah.
At an 80%, at a 20% margin with Expedia. So it doesn't change the numbers appreciably much.
Oh no. ADR is 222.
No. I'm saying that again, I was using 189.
Okay.
On a 0.8 recapture rate, right?
Right.
20% margin. Yep. They're whether it's $1,100 a day, whether it's $950 a day, it's in the same rough ballpark.
Right.
The point is, owners are going to be poorer by about $1,000 a day in revenue, assuming that they can reclaim 15 of the 22 rooms that we're assuming Expedia puts into those properties.
Yeah.
How long will owners tolerate that?
Right.
Before forcing Hyatt to cave to Expedia, versus how long will Expedia tolerate not having the inventory before Expedia comes back with an offer that Hyatt can live with, right? And that's the balancing act. I mean, I went through this plenty of times. Now, in my Wyndham days, in my Sendon days, get your bingo cards out. You know, when IHG pulled their inventory, we took it as a flat out opportunity because we had lots and lots of our properties were right across the street from the Holiday Inn Express.
Yep.
You know, we were 100% franchised. We had an agreement in place that wasn't going to expire for a couple of years anyway. Right. So we went to our franchisees and we said, hey, this is a time if you want to give a little extra, you know, you want to do an override, you want to do other things to get better placement, to pick up some of that lost inventory, go for it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think Hyatt has to do this if they are legitimately cost them 20% margin or 20% cost of distribution through Expedia. That's too high.
Mm-hmm.
That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Right. So whether this is a negotiating ploy, whether this is a you know, burn the boats because we're going to go find the way to reclaim those 20 rooms, those 25 rooms,
right,
other places is not the point. The point is they can't pay 20% to Expedia for their bookings.
Well,
they can't.
Yeah.
They can't sustain that to their franchisees.
Yeah.
Right.
But then the question's also going to be, well, what are they paying Booking.com, right? Or whoever.
Well,
and so,
less,
and what's the split? Assume that's less.
Right.
And probably not over 15%, unless again they're adding in to get to boost their
Before you throw all the paper wads back at me, I have a question on what happens when it comes if we rather than just talking about the recapturing of the percentages that are available for the inventory loss from the OTA separation. What are the avenues of opportunity for them? Where can they go find this business? Should they jump on board with a Accord or something, start pushing inventory through them? Because that's a profile in the making. That's a process in the making. That's a quiet dissolving of the base of some things. You know, we don't talk about it as much because it's quietly doing what it's doing. You know, but it is one of those things.
So the easy answer, Lauren, is I don't know because we don't have enough information about where their mix of business is coming from.
Right.
You know, if I have worked with companies where they get a lot of business through OTA, right? We're doing some back of the envelope and saying they're getting between 10 and 20% from OTA. Because they're city center properties, they've underinvested in things like their own web presence. They've underinvested in things like search. They've underinvested in things like Meta, and they're getting 30 to 40% through Expedia. Well, you go there first. You go to direct channels. If they're really lean and they're only getting 10% from Expedia, it gets a little tougher. Not because it gets easier on one hand because there's fewer rooms you have to make up, but it gets harder on the other hand because you're probably well optimized through direct channels and things like that. And then you need to, and as Robert quite rightly pointed out a few minutes ago, you're probably not generating new demand. So you have to go looking for where are the channels where there's sufficient volume to offset the loss.
Right.
That are, and could a core be one of those? Maybe. I mean, there's potential there, but that's something where you have to look at what the mix is today.
Right. What do you think in general Hyatt's group mix is? Just to put a stick in the sand.
Oh, for the Regencies, which are 45% of their portfolio, it's very high. I mean, it's more than half. It's like 60% or something.
Well, I was about to say, because most of the Hyatts that I'm aware of that are really big players in their inventory portfolio are all anchor based for group.
Right.
Yeah.
You know. Yep. So you look at that and you say,
and corporate, and you got corporate, and then corporate is pushing a huge portion too. They're probably another 30% corporate.
And then you push the other point that you made, Tim, and that, well, I think Robert, I'm sorry, you did, was the membership program is really heavy skewed for high end loyalty return value.
Now
that it's really not now.
Yeah.
You know, which obviously they're not, again, to your point, they're not dumb. They're competent people. They know by skewing that they were going to irritate some of the lower masses, but then again, vastly improve the relationship with those people that are influencers for what? large scale, you reward people with group business with reward values. You're talking to the same people.
Well,
So
yeah, I don't know. The whole gold passport to World of Hyatt shift, though, to me is very interesting, because I know Jeff Seidel really pretty well. I worked with him when I was at Sabre. Really smart guy, and he was the face. He was probably, out of all the hotel loyalty program, he probably had the highest profile and was really kind of out there. I mean, he was the guy for Hyatt. They did a disastrous AMA on Reddit last fall, which was just horrible. And I chalk it up to not Jeff. Jeff can handle that stuff, but it was basically corporate. It's when corporate communications manages an AMA, right. You get a whole bunch of just it was painfully awful. But then, so they do the World of Hyatt transition, and then all of a sudden, I can't remember, end of March or whatever, Zeidel's gone. And so it's like, well, I don't know. I have not talked to him. I think it'd be a fascinating conversation, but I don't know if he didn't like where World of Hyatt was going, and he's just like, I'm out. If Hyatt didn't like what World of Hyatt was and said, you made it, and you're, I mean, I don't know, but that's not a real stable situation there in terms of their loyalty program. And I know personally for me, I had an upper level Hyatt thing, I can't remember, it wasn't gold, it was like the next level up, right? And they bounced me. They pulled my number. And it's like, wait a second, I've had this number since the 80s, sort of thing. It started with a G, right? And it was like, what the hell's going on? And it was just like, no, you're out. You hadn't stayed in over a year, or whatever the number was. You're gone. And it's like, really? And you got, which that pisses. I've said on the show before, I hate Hilton. Not necessarily for the product and the people and things like that, but their practice. I've had 4 or 5 different Hilton Honors numbers because I never stay there enough. Continuously, I'll go a year or 2 without staying, and they take me out of the system and make me get a new number. Which
so you're the puppy that never learns by being swatted with the newspaper roll to go outside, right? Because no matter
pisses me
you
off.
Still keep peeing on the carpet,
right? As opposed to Starwood, Preferred Guest, where I have the same situation with Starwood, right? And it's like, well, yeah, but they can tell me that I've stayed 85 nights or whatever the number is, 120, whatever the number is. I've stayed with them over the full duration, and you kind of go, oh, I get it. Here's a sporadic birth, and I just look at them as being flat out idiots. What are they trying to do? Save disk space? They've got a limitation on their account number that they can sort out.
You brought a great segue over to another topic that we had in the hopper of happiness, which is loyalty on the cusp of major R evolution. And I'll throw the article link up for, which was from the Travel Daily, Data Daily site,
which I happen to post on LinkedIn. So,
I believe, yes. I mean, I think you and I are in a race of content distribution this week. As I'm putting stuff up, you're putting it up. I'm like, damn you, Robert Cole.
Well, you always say that anyway, but still.
I do, but for all completely different reasons. I tell you, it's a totally different reasons for it. But I thought it was interesting, but I also disagree with some predications in this article.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether to the point that I disagree. If you don't mind me stepping forward first, is that Charles he says that he thinks that the large scale membership programs will remain frozen in their current design until they're forced to evolve. And I don't agree with that, because I think that although that they may be the case that they pretty much have decided to give as much as they're going to give, or restructure as much as they're going to restructure, I think the real issue to the large scale membership programs is the leapfrog worry that as these smaller ones struggling to create consolidation value and so forth, I mean, anybody that's below a certain mass adoption, like a Marriott or something like this, has to pony up with somebody else basically to make it valuable, because you don't stay enough at their inventory. They don't have enough inventory to stay with, that the reward carrot stick mentality works. And even though there's variations on value proposition and so forth, there's still a building inherent value proposition that's globally to all membership programs or reward programs. I won't even say membership program, reward programs. But there is a possibility that how engagement and what engagement is used for will dynamically change to literally overnight make them the buggy whip. And all of a sudden, what they do doesn't count for anything, because there's certain main things about membership programs that are persistently accurate. They have very little real value when it comes to redemption. They've diluted it to the point of almost obscurity. And that's persistent in most every membership program. There is no real translation value for a level of work that, or level of loyalty that you had to produce, or business you had to produce for that program to generate a level of return value. There's just not enough. There's no correlation value that really matters.
The consumer's value proposition of what's the inherent value of those points, and what's the liquidity of those points.
That's right.
Where I need a big bucket of them to go do anything with it, because I can't use it for this or that. I can only use it once every 5 years. Once I can.
It reminds me a lot of how ownership used to react to sales bonuses. That you give a line out there for the salespeople, and they rang that bell, baby. They went out there and they busted their hump, and they hit that sales goal. And the owner goes, "I'm writing this check for what? For oh shit! No. We're changing the program next year. We're going to dilute that a little bit more. Either put the line a little farther or the reward a little less. But I am not writing another check like this again to these people." Well, that's been going on and on and on for membership rewards programs for years, to the point where it's like, I'm sorry, this isn't alcohol. This is grapefruit juice and ice. I bought a premium drink and there ain't no alcohol in this thing. That's pretty much the reward program right now. And that's mainstay. And if they think they're going to freeze in place, like this guy Charles is saying, because they can, and yes, to a point right now they can. You got to eat whatever they're going to give you. But with all this consolidation of lower level member reward programs developing different strategies and different capabilities, one day we're going to wake up and it's like, why didn't we think of that? Wow, boom! Now all of a sudden,
I think, Lauren, I think you and Charles are actually making the same argument. I think there's.
I think
there's a semantic debate.
I do agree with them on other stuff. Don't get me wrong. I
think he's saying that their problem is that they've been too lazy. They haven't been. They haven't been revolutionary enough. Which is what you're saying. They're making too many incremental changes and not enough holistic change. That's really the bigger issue. I'll tell you what. There's a topic I want to talk about. I don't know that it's 100% on topic, but this makes a great segue to it. So I'm just going to admit my.
So you want to get off of this topic?
No. We're taking you off.
No. I want to stay on the topic. I just want to shift the discussion a little bit, but I'm admitting right up front what I'm doing here. I think that, you look at Amazon Prime. See, here's what I find interesting. One of the things that digital has done, one of the things that mobile has done, is our customers now compare their experiences to the best experiences they have everywhere, right? And that's probably always been true, but it's increasingly more visible, right? People take an Uber and they go, well, why can't everything be like this? People get, next day delivery from Amazon or same day delivery. And go, why can't everything?
Or their iPhone or their Amazon Echo or their whatever.
Right. And why can't everything be like this? Right.
Yep.
And, Prime probably has, nobody knows the real numbers because they won't say, but Prime has 60 to 90 million members, depending on who's.
My understanding, 51% of U.S. households.
51% of U.S. households, right. There's 350 million people in the United States. There's probably 2.5 people per households, right? So what's that going to be? That's going to be 100 million households. So you're going to go about 50, right? Yeah. So you're going to. I'm doing some very, very quick rounding.
Yeah.
So 50 million. So 50 million memberships, 60 million memberships, something like that.
Just in the U.S.
Just in the U.S. Right. We're going to keep this solely on the U.S. for a second. Okay. So Amazon bought Whole Foods today.
Yeah. Right? Robert pointed that up too. He's like, hey, not really, but this is something.
which is, I think, astonishing for a couple of reasons. And I do think it has a travel implication in the broader sense. So there's not much you can talk about Amazon buying Whole Foods and go, and this is how it's going to impact hotels, right? There's no straight line there. So full disclosure. Here's the somewhat curvy dotted line. Grocery, e-commerce represents about 1 to 2% of grocery sales, depending on whose numbers you go by, right? So grocery has been largely unaffected by e-commerce. But now, in most high-end markets, somebody suggested, somebody suggested on Twitter, what's the overlap between markets served by Whole Foods and markets served with Prime memberships?
Yeah.
And the response was somewhere in the 70 to 80% range in all likelihood.
Yep.
Okay. It is, what's fascinating about this is it's both a data play. Think about all the data that Amazon is now going to collect about customer shopping behaviors and things along those lines that they don't get today, since 98% of it, in best case scenario, doesn't happen online, right? And how much of those are going to be people who are Prime members.
Right.
And I think when we look at loyalty programs, reward programs, whatever we want to call them, they're about understanding customers better so that we can give customers better experiences. And I think that this story is fascinating because as they get more information about customers, as they get more data, look at what Prime keeps doing. Prime raises the price occasionally, and it's a paid program. It's not a free program. But they keep adding more value to it for what you're paying. They keep adding more benefits. Who knows what benefits they will add once they have Whole Foods. But they're going to get a lot of data about how customers shop, and they're going to get a lot of insight into what people want, and then we're going to see those get added as benefits so that they can grow more Prime memberships and on, and it becomes...
I want to add one more thing to that.
Yeah,
it gives them brick and mortar. It gives them brick and mortar.
Oh, absolutely. But see, the only reason I didn't go there is because on a hotel side, that definitely, apples and things are definitely not apples, right? It has tons of implications in terms of what they can do from a distribution standpoint and the like. But
already demographically profiled and usable,
right? Yeah. But this is the key. This is the point that I think hotels need to understand out of this, because what it will enable them to do, if you've been to an Amazon Books, the actual store, what Amazon is doing is it's applying e-commerce principles to the retail experience. Right. There is no offline, online. There's just data-driven merchandising, data-driven marketing, data-driven personalized customer experiences.
Right.
And, when we think about what a loyalty program is, when we think about what a rewards program is, you have to get the data. You have to get the insights into the customer so that you can provide a better experience, because ultimately that's what's going to bring people back to your property, not the points.
Right.
Right. Yep. And so, I think where people are doing a good job with loyalty programs are when they're doing a better job of saying, how do we increase the value proposition and use what we learn about these folks to improve the overall guest experience, right? And tie, digital is data. Forget e-commerce, forget the web, forget mobile. They're all incredibly important. But what's most important about them are the footprints that customers leave and the things we learn about them that help us improve the overall experience, the overall guest experience at every touch point, regardless of whether it's online or it's when somebody's in our hotels.
Right.
So anybody who's using their loyalty program to glean that kind of insight and do it well and has a sufficient, volume of data to do it well is going to be in a much better position. I think that's what the Marriott-Starwood merger is about as much as anything. Mm-hmm. Not everything, but I think that's a huge component of it. Mm-hmm. The ones that aren't are, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, yeah, screwed.
I'm sure that's the exact word. It seems pretty much accurate.
Yeah.
It starts with an F, ends with a D, and has, 5 letters in between. Yeah, 5 letters in between.
Yeah,
they're in deep, deep trouble. So
when
we talk,
really? Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, they're flocked.
Exactly. Yeah.
Son of a goat!
They're going to have to round up their. They're going to have to round up their sheep and get the flock out of here. But to bring it back to Charles' article, see what I did there?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, you brought it all back.
I didn't want to not talk about this. I just wanted to talk about it a slightly different way.
King of the boomerang
is the fact that the folks who are gaining the data and gaining their insights into their customers and then using that data to create a better guest experience are going to be really well positioned. That's something Airbnb does a great job of, right?
Yep.
That's something that Uber theoretically does a great job of. We're going to ignore all the Uber nonsense, right? But I think it's what Lyft is trying to do a very good job of.
Yep.
But, I think Hilton's partnership with Amazon makes a lot of sense because particularly if it gets them access to the data, right?
Well, yeah.
Because
Probably
ultimately,
it
probably doesn't.
I bet it doesn't.
Yeah,
But
I bet you're right.
It gives them liquidity of those points, though.
Right.
Where it adds value and goes,
which is a better experience, right? Because now,
I can use my points. I can go buy, I can go buy stuff, and I'm a Prime member. This is great.
I have this. I'll give you. Not to do a focus group of one. I have this problem all the time. I travel a ton for business, but I am my own business. Often I have to travel on the policies of the companies with which I work.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll stay in a Marriott, or I'll stay in a Hilton, or I like to stay in Independence, honestly. But but I can't jack up a whole bunch of preferred points or a whole bunch of leading points or things along those lines when I'm staying on somebody else's dime. I can't always get the Hilton because it doesn't meet policy for my client. And so I have multiple memberships where I've got a little bit of points.
Right.
A whole lot of littles, but not a whole lots. Yeah.
Yeah. I just stayed at a Holiday Inn the other day. It was a lovely property. It was the only hotel in town. I was in a very small town. It was right next to the company that I was staying. So I've got these. I can't even remember what the loyalty program is for IHG because I don't stay in IHG properties very often. What am I doing with these
privilege rewards?
Guest privileges, something like that. I don't have. What am I going to do with these points?
Right.
And those points are not going to have me come back to another IHG because I got so many other points everywhere else. It's just not. But if they gave me liquidity, like you just said, Robert, suddenly, then you know what? If I have a choice between an IHG and something else that isn't that might draw me in. Right.
Or if you can go the other way too, where you go, here's some with my target,
Prime.
Yeah, or what?
Prime points. I know Prime doesn't really do points.
Something else where you got a whole bunch of points, and maybe certainly with airlines and things like that. Yeah. But if you can take that and go, I've got and I can use them in IHG. Hey, let's do that.
Okay. I just had a weird
cottage. No, I gotta make a really important point. The reason that doesn't happen right now, though, is because those exchanges are horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you've got organizations in the middle, like points.com takes talk about OTAs, 15-20% vig out of that. And so all of a sudden you can't transact these without having 50%, 60% of the value evaporate, which is just ridiculous. It's a punishing experience for a consumer who goes, wow, I got these for being loyal, and now I want to use them, and it's just like, you can't.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's where taking like a points.com or something should take the other strata of it, and that is companies like Hyatt say, hey, you're not a successful user of ours either, and you can't consolidate with other users. Maybe create their own forums that say, hey, Hyatt users, you're trying to get up to your next level of credit of status. I have points I don't need. So if you give me X, I'll give you these, and then just adopt the transfer.
That's I'm looking. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
And just make an open forum like that, where now that proves a value proposition. So like, hey, I'll still stay connected to Hyatt. I'm never going to use points, but I appreciate the fact that what I did earn, and I didn't plan on ever attaining a level of redeemability. At least I get some value proposition off it, whether it's a exchange value of or something that they actually mitigated, and not some third party like points.com that rip you off for half your price.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
and as long as you can retain control over how your points are used, or how you give them, or what the valuations are, and what they can be used for, that's where it needs to go, as opposed to just tossing them out into a general pool. But if you give everybody their control over keep their programs separate, but allow this liquidity, I think that's and I think that's what Charles was getting at there, right?
Tim, I need to ask a favor of you that normally by 1 o'clock you have to sign off, or
Yes.
in our world 12. And I do not want you to leave before I get to share with you some stuff that I've been working on, some things that I found.
Okay.
So we got to make sure that remind me well enough ahead if we get off on some tangent line or something. I want to make sure there's some things I want to bring up of some stuff. But one of the bleed overs was videos taking over the digital world. I think
Sure.
that article, that was from Henry, our buddy at Ice Portal. It was an interesting article, I thought, as to some of the implications that I know we all have opinions about it. But I do have some stat information on a program that I'm using that I want to share with as we dialogue with this. If we can slide over to it a little bit, if you want to. Because, I mean, the Airbnb one's really good. I think it's a staggering freaking number of impact and so forth. And I don't want to lose those either. But the video one, if we can throw that into the hopper right now, I would love to discuss a little bit about the video complications as to what Henry was basically pointing out. I'll put the link on the chat box here.
So
for us to,
I have been calling for the year of video for the last 2 years. So I'm I just posted a link a moment ago. 2016's top trends: make room for mobile video, and that turned out not to be 100% true by any stretch. So yeah, I'm pretty confident video is going to be enormous. It's more a question of when than will, right?
Yeah. Well, you know that I like messing with toys and projects and platforms and everything else. And I think I mentioned a few weeks ago that I hooked up with a customization video tool. And what that does is it allows you.
It's super fun. Yeah.
It allows you to, and we use it for the show here. For those who get our email, it customizes the video at places that I want to insert, like mail merge for an email. It will drop in whatever your first name, last name, whatever data I have about you, your company name. If I tie it with, if you go to our Facebook page, Hospitality Digital Marketing, then you'll see that there's a video tab, personalized video tab. If you hit it, it'll actually pull your Facebook data, and I can take your Facebook image profile as well and put it anywhere I want to in this video as I produce it. Now,
can I make one quick point?
Yeah.
If you're one of those hotel organizations, and I can't remember which one did this recently, who when you do mail merges onto email, send like dear guest name or dear F name, maybe you should focus on that first before getting into the video.
Do not drop what you don't have data for. That's a primary rule for any customization. If you don't have the data and you can't put a good null void in there that still makes sense in the message, do not do it, because if it drops into the crap, it's a counter effect. But anyway, so it
makes you look like an idiot. I mean, it's like, wow, you don't even know my name, and
you can't even do the technology
wasn't personalized anyway, and you're just jerks.
So anyway, I did an A/B test with this for an email send for a client, and the A/B was purely customization with the video, not with the video. I still mail merged the customer's name and company name within the email. So there was still customization to the actual email send. Okay. The only variable, was the reference and link to a custom video message. I got triple the opening rate, no exaggerate, triple the opening rate with the customized video.
Wait, I have a question to ask about that. Were the subject lines different?
Had to be, because that's the only way I can make the difference on whether they opened it up. So in the subject line, I had custom video.
Custom video
and free Amazon $100 gift card. No,
we're not talking about that variable. No,
I need to understand something. I need to understand, so if I got the email with the video, did it say, "Dear Tim, here's a custom video for you"? Yes or no?
The sales in the subject line past the 25. Yes, in the subject line past the character count, which is ironic because it doesn't show up unless you actually see the full subject line. But the sales message at the beginning, the first 25 characters were the same. Only after the first 25 character drop did it then say with custom video, with your custom video. Actually, custom invite video.
I'd have to look at this. I'll tell you why I'm skeptical. Because if they couldn't see the part of the subject line that said custom video, right?
Unless they previewed, in other words, they would go through their emails and have to click on the email to get past the 25 character drop.
Right. Right. This is something. Sorry, this is a thing that I get really hung up about. I'm a real nerd when it comes to data on these kinds of tests. I'm all about A/B testing and the like. You know, we need to be really clear on what were the variables that were different that would lead to a triple open rate. The other question I would have is, how large is the sample size in this specific case?
Just around I did a 15-15. I did a 30% total sample size out of 6,200 names. So they were roughly just about 1,000 each.
All right.
That's
All
okay.
right. That's
1,000 each.
That's a good number. Okay, good. That's very good. Okay. Because I'm just trying to get my head around, you know, open rate, what drives the open. So, you know, the old joke, I didn't make this up. This is an old direct marketing thing people always talk about, right? 40% of the power is in your list, right? Sending the wrong message to the right person is much better than sending the right message to the wrong person.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The 30% is in the 35% is in the subject line, because if they don't open, nothing else happens.
Right. Yeah.
And then the rest is the offer, the message, etc. Right.
Right.
So I'm just trying to understand, what was the experience for somebody who got the personalized one versus the non-personalized one that leads to the clearly significantly better open rate. Like, that's the part I can't get my head around.
Let me define how I saw some of the impacts to this was. First off, to define your first answer at the top of the list, it was a group sales list off of a Delphi list. So you get a qualified, you have a quantified, a specific market type. This wasn't a transient, this was group sales.
Well, and law of large numbers. You have a big enough audience that you should be fine that the list is probably okay. You know,
right? No, I had to go
get what drove the open. Is the part
I had some problems finding out that on hard bounces that the list wasn't as clean as was given.
Sure,
but that was another story. But on going through the AB and then now going through the 70% that it gets served to afterwards. The variance to that is, when I was doing this, I was under the predication that most emails via Outlook, via Google, will do a rendering beyond 25 characters as people scribe through their emails, that they're not just truncated in most circumstances. Most people see a little bit large enough of the context of the email in the hopes that they would see the customized video aspect of the A variation, split A, because the split B was the non-video.
So it's as they're scrolling through, you're saying the preview is showing them the video.
It's showing them the video is in there.
Showing them the video's in there. They can see the video.
Yeah.
Not
in
like
the
a pre-roll type thing.
Right.
Not like a pre-roll.
In the subject line, when you scroll through your emails on Gmail and Outlook, it'll show you the full subject line compared to its abbreviation truncated on the side. +2 in the preview window, which is now, I feel, an underutilized aspect of perception of your email view, because before it used to be you wouldn't see, most people list out and they don't have preview windows. Most people now, there's a statistic out that it was like 38 or something %. That's what I was basing this on. Leave the preview window open. They want to see some aspect of the email rather than assuming. Huh?
What
38
does? 38%.
38% of people use a preview type format in their email outline.
So that suggests that 75% of the people who do that opened, right?
Yeah.
That seems unlikely to me.
Think about this one.
The preview, just the pixel firing, because it was...
Yeah.
Well, what happens is, what they see in the preview window being there, remember, the video doesn't play until they click on it.
No, I get that. I completely get that.
Yeah.
Right.
My question is, if I'm in the preview window, and I'm looking at the video one, can I, in the preview window, see that there is a video from anything other than the subject line? Like, is the video itself above the fold?
Yeah. The image graphic that there is a video in the email is above the fold.
Okay. In the non-video one, is there an image graphic that is above the fold in the same position?
But not for the video.
There isn't, but in the same position.
A different image.
A different image.
Different image.
Wow. All right. I mean, look.
These are
impressive numbers.
In front of you guys, because I'm sitting there and I'm shooting at it like a tin can in the air as well.
Yeah.
To go over and say I had triple the weight, because here's the other not weird, but very rewarding aspect. My click-through rate on the email itself for the engagement existed in the video one and did not even exist in the non-video one. There was no call to action in the emails that were opened in the split B with the non-video. They opened the email, opening rate was there, no engagement.
Wait. Hold on. You're saying in the one with the video, there was no call to action?
No. There was both emails had call to actions. Okay. Both emails had call to actions. In the video one, they actually went through and the call to action.
Yeah.
Okay, and the number is irrelevant because the fact that there was compared to you're looking at 2.8, 3. Whatever. Okay, in the non-video one that were opened, no usage of the call to action.
Right. No, that I buy.
Yeah. That's okay.
Not just to the video. Not just to the video.
No. I get it. I get it. No. I get that completely because I fully believe the video is going to be more engaging. So the fact that you got people clicking on the call to the action in the video one and you didn't get people clicking on the call to action in the non-video one makes total sense to me. I can't get past why 3 times as many people open. That's the part that I'm really hung up on. Again, here's one of the things about calls to action that I always preach to people and make a big deal about is I don't pay attention typically to click rate. I prefer what's called effective rate. They're really the same thing. It's just a different way of looking at the same number. Effective rate is the percentage of people who opened who clicked, right? Mm-hmm. Because the click-through rate, not accounting for people opening, is pointless because if they didn't open, they clearly didn't click, right? I only care about what percentage of the people who got in the thing clicked.
Right. I got past hurdle 1. You hit the big red button. I want to know what you did afterwards.
So you're saying that the effective rate in the one with the video had a number. Doesn't matter what it was. Had a positive integer or positive percentage, and the effective rate in the non-video one was 0.
Yeah.
So it was literally infinitely better.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to.
Well, yeah. You divide by 0. You divide by 0. By definition,
there was no impact, no effective rate from the email being opened with the non-video. Yeah. It, in my mind, in the real world of how things were, it was engaging enough for them to open to view, but not engaging in content for them to act upon.
How many clicks, if I can ask? Can you share
on the video one?
Yeah.
On call to actions, out of that sample size, I had 21 call to actions.
So 21 versus 0.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that I'll buy. That I have no issue with. I still can't get my head around why they opened. I would, on a personal level, I would love for you to send me the 2 emails because I got to see them because I'm not saying it didn't happen.
Oh no, you're not. I know you're not. I want you to tear it out and look at it. I'll tell you one other variable that I did that I don't think, and I talked to the platform basis that I was using with, in order for the image rendering for the video to look aesthetic as a part of it, because I couldn't buffer the frame on the cell sizes, I put a tone difference on the background. And we both agreed that tone difference in color really is going to make a big difference.
Remember, again, this is open rate. That's the one that I keep getting hung up on, that I'm like, I got to see it to know what could have caused the open rate to be different.
Yeah, the picture of the supermodel on the video. And,
right.
Well, there was a naked picture. I'm not saying plus the $100 Amazon card, whatever. But the interesting.
I mean, if you had 21 people click, let's just say there was 1,000 emails were opened with videos and 1,000 emails were opened without video, right? Mm-hmm. A difference between a 2% click rate, which would be 21 clicks on 1,000 versus 0%. A is statistically significant and very meaningful, but B is not a huge number. So maybe the click-through rate is really 1 per 10,000, right, on the non-video, which would make sense. If you only had 1,000 people open, you just needed a whole bunch more sent before you get right. And it is 10x better or something like that. So I totally buy that. It's the open rate that I gotta see it because I don't get why the open rate would be that
that's actually a really important point, because let's say the non-open rate, maybe it typically is just a hair above 1%.
Yeah.
But again, you have a range of error there where you go, hey, it's not always going to be that. Sometimes maybe it doesn't have, and sometimes it's 2, right? And then the same thing with the video. Maybe it's normally 2.5 or something like that, but hey, it could swing down to 1.5 or whatever. It's normally 2. It could be down and it can go back and forth. So yeah, you shouldn't look at these as like isolation. You've got to look at the
You got to look at the
and again, but this
large enough sample size, enough executions.
Now I'm going to send an email out that's transient based.
Yeah,
that I'm going to make the same A/B predication on.
Yeah,
and I'm going to use the same premise of saying I'm going to refer to the customization video within the topic subject content again. And I'm going to shoot that out and see, does it have a duplicatable effect? Of course, obviously with any testing,
of course,
replication is validation.
Of course.
Okay. So, and even though I'm doing it on a transient level, I'm not expecting exact replication because
you just want to see is video significantly better.
Right. And then also too, the offer proposition on the transient level is not an immediate call to action. It's a long-term offer. So the engagement relationship has changed with that as well. You're not looking for the fact if I don't bang the button now, I'm not going to get the benefit later. This might just be interesting. I might shelve it for later. That's where I think the customization video might really have a play on the engagement value. Okay, because if the video is an enticement value, once they've opened the, it may not impact the opening rate, but I think it should definitely affect the engagement rate.
In theory, it shouldn't, right? Because there's no way to know that it's a customized video till you get past the open. That's the part. That's the part that I just can't get my head around at the moment. That's why in the subject
line I had it so that it was, hey, I got a customized video for you. Because right now there's a unique value to saying that statement. What does that mean? If I say I send you a custom video, and for us and individually, I can send you individually a custom video. Sure, if I want to make one personally, but to scaling it to 6 to 10 to 15, this next email is going to go out to almost 80,000 people.
Here's the one question I would have, by the way, with the video. You do have 2 different variables in that subject line. Right?
Yes.
Because one of them is that you have video, and one of them is that it's customized.
Right.
Yeah.
If I would, first of all, I believe video is, I don't believe this. A lot of people believe video is the future of the web. Right? Second, video is harder to do than text. Right? And harder to do well than text. As easy as it's getting, it's still harder. That's just a fact, right? To do text, I need a computer. To do video, I need a camera, and I need to shoot it, and I need the computer, right? And this counts as a computer.
And so hopefully maybe some editing, unless you're really good at shooting.
Yeah, right. which either editing or multiple takes or whatever. And you need something that approaches a script, which, oh, by the way, is text, which means if you could just publish the script, it'd be done if it's text, right? So text is easier. So I do think video is going to be huge. I do think it's going to distinguish people for a time. And I think it's a great window to make use of. So I want to be really clear. I don't want any of this to be poo-pooing on.
Oh God, no, I don't see it that way at all.
I think if you can personalize the video, if it can personalize the video, that has potentially even greater value because personalization has value unto itself also.
Yeah.
I just got to see why the hell did they open? Because that's the part I can't figure out.
And so with the transient one, it's going to be interesting because I'm going to try the same. But no, I never. I'm of the mindset. I don't believe it. So let me if I can shoot at it, if it still holds water at the end of it, then it must have some merit compared to, oh no, I'm only going to listen to the stuff that supports my idea and I'm going to ignore anything that may be contrary to it. On the contrary, that's why I'm bringing it up. I was like, look, I threw this out there as a variable test of, hey, let's do something different. I'm a big fan always. Whenever you do emails, take the time to A/B them, man. Yeah, don't rush out. Oh, let's get it out there. No. Do it, test it, modify, and then readjust. Yeah. But that's why I'm going to do this with it again. One other thing, because we are going to be running out of time with you on something else, is that 2 things. One is a follow-up to an earlier conversation we had when I was talking to you about the overlays that go into websites. I'm beginning to find out how the modifier really is beginning to influence the numbers. What happens, basically, quick, simple, is when you put an overlay on your website, on your direct channel, you're opening the door for them to sell through you. All of the traffic is accounted for you in your Google Analytics as to all traffic, negated, people that don't translate or anything. What happens with these overlays is that they associate themselves and reset the session as being them and now in the attribution string as they move forward through the booking process.
Yeah.
It does 2 things to you. One, it amplifies artificially your session count because
that's bad.
It creates a new session sound,
which means will decrease your conversion rate is going to get cut in half.
That's the first number. So your number naturally goes down. their natural conversion value goes up because they're only associating themselves with the pass-through conversions that are in the attribution string for activity.
And none of the ones where people aren't being seen.
On all the
So
bounces.
you're getting bled down for conversion numbers, and they're amplifying that.
Right.
In exchange, you're also amplifying their conversion value proposition by excluding them.
Yep.
And nobody's mathing that out going, holy shit, because now we have done A-B testing on those ones as well. I'm big A-B this day. By shutting off, all of a sudden, progressively, our conversion value is going up.
Right.
And it's like, well, wait a minute, they're not contributing to,
They're simply claiming credit for stuff that's happening anyway.
We found a way to increase our conversion rate by not working with you.
This tells you by the way, this is a great example. I had this happen years ago with a company, a couple years ago with a company we were doing some work with, where they were claiming credit for stuff that they influenced, right? But we looked at hotel sales during the same period, and they were flat year on year, right? And we were like, no, no, you're simply claiming credit for business we were getting anyway, period. And they were like, no, this really works. And they had this whole, hands waving line of bullshit.
Well, unless they knew that there was this whole gap of people who were leaving, and they managed to fill it perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This is one of the fundamental. This is a fundamental principle of analytics. There's an amazing book that I tout regularly called "How to Measure Anything." How to measure anything. Oh, damn it! I tout it all the time, and I'm completely blanked on it.
Okay, while Tim's looking for that, I just want to make a point on Lawrencing. In some cases, you may not know why it's working better. There may not be empirical evidence, but that's the whole thing with these data-driven decisions. If you can figure out that it isn't happening for a bad thing, right, which is an important thing to consider.
Right.
If it isn't happening for a bad reason, keep doing it. And keep
absolutely.
I mean, if it's working, that's it. Do more of what works, less of what doesn't. Except, and I'll use a very, very old example, which actually was video, pre-web. An organization I was working with, we'll go unnamed, I'm not sure if I've shared this story on here, targeted the group market, and decided that they wanted to do a video. It was a new hotel, it was a conference center sort of thing. And we had just done a very successful opening, attracting corporate executives to a new hotel in Los Angeles. Very, very successful on Fortune 500, CEOs, chairman, things like that. Really just knocked it out of the park. It was great. So they figured, we want to try this with a conference center and get business into it. So they produced a video, which was on a VHS. They might have done beta too, I don't know, but a VHS, and it wound up being like an 8-minute video. Here's everything about it. And they didn't have a bunch of money. Well, they had a lot of money. They spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think $300,000 on this. It was a lot. So they produced it.
On what it was. It's not for video. Probably wasn't a lot.
Well,
I mean, that's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong,
for the media,
at all back then, it was $100,000 to do anything.
They wanted to put the media to promote this into the Wall Street Journal, Inc., Business Week, that sort of thing. They didn't have enough money. They dropped it all. One insertion in like early August, which is just, they could get it cheap when nobody's looking at it, everybody's on vacation, things like that. And wow, the video fulfillment was 5x what they anticipated. They're like, wow, we hit, and I mean, they did like a gatefold, card, the whole thing. I mean, they spent they wound up spending $750,000 on this whole thing, including the media. It was nuts. And so then they came back and they did the little, here's the ROI, and wow, it was great. They had gotten, whatever, $4 million worth of it, some amount. Wound up looking through that, and because I was working at the corporate office, had previously known this market, realized that, a lot of this business is coming from organizations that have headquarters located near that place. So basically all they did was, if somebody on the B2B end, if somebody from that organization responded, and all of a sudden here's the board of directors meeting or whatever, that was attribution. And so I dug through it. They got 40 room nights.
Wow.
40 incremental room nights.
Wow,
that's $750,000. And
all
they
that must have had a huge ADR to make that pay for itself, right?
Exactly. And the funny thing was, all those VHS cassettes a lot of them were going to prisons.
All right.
So the word got out that they were sending a 30-minute blank videotape to go record over.
So I posted a link to the book, How to Measure Anything, Finding the Value of Intangibles in Business, by a guy named Douglas Hubbard, really smart guy. And he's got these 6 rules that he talks about, 2 of which I live by constantly. The first is measurements reduce uncertainty, right? That's the whole point of doing measurement. It's to help us make better business decisions. So if you reduce uncertainty at all, that's a win, because it helps you make a better decision. Yeah. The second one, and this is the point I was trying to make a moment ago, was if it matters at all, it is detectable or observable. You might not be able to measure the exact thing, but you might be able to measure downstream effects.
Sure.
Incredibly quick story. We ran a promotion once upon a time at a company that I worked for that didn't work online. However, when we went back and looked at numbers, we saw that there was this pretty big blip in call volumes during the same period we were running the promotion, right? So the online part didn't work. It did drive voice sales. There was not a positive ROI on it because the cost of the call, you know what I mean? Like but it actually worked in terms of doing something. We were able to visualize the effect. We just then had to make it figure out how to make it work economically going forward.
Right.
Sure.
I always flip that one on its head, though, which is if it's not detectable or observable, it didn't work. If it worked, you'd see a difference, and I see people do this all the time. I cannot tell you the meetings I've sat in, on consulting gigs and with my own teams once upon a time and the like, where, they would point to, we got a 10% lift. 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 And you look and the business is up 5%.
Right.
And you're like, well, those cannot all be true.
They can all be true. Somebody is taking credit for something that isn't true.
And maybe you all got 10% of the 5%. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. But, if it's measurable, if you cannot find evidence that it happened, it didn't happen.
Right. I basically my adage is, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Well, yeah, that's right.
That's kind of
That's right. The one danger there, and I have to credit your old friend Ted Ting for this one. Was sorry, I got something weird on my desk. I just noticed
Ted's not that old.
No, Robert. You're old. Sorry, no, I'm kidding.
Ted is older than me.
But so. Ted, well, see, I don't want to piss off Ted. Ted's a nice guy.
I may have already pissed him off just with that comment.
You're going to have to give me at least a minute to give you an announcement before you leave. So you got to give me that.
Okay, very quick. But the one thing you have to watch for is, obviously, people do tend to manage only those things that they can measure, and sometimes we need to look for a little deeper. This is one of the things that's great about this book and why I like it a lot, is sometimes you need to look a little deeper for how can we measure the things that we think we can't measure. One of the great points about this book is it's all measurable. Sometimes you might have to measure second-order effects or third-order effects,
right.
Move a little further down the stream so that you are measuring the things that do matter.
Right.
But anyway,
right.
I'd love to see those. I'd love to see those emails, though, Lauren.
I will. I'll go. It's actually, I'll try to cue them also with my transient one this weekend to see what all this all means together, because I love your critique.
Okay. Awesome.
So last night had a thought, because I was working on a project based on HSMAI. Last year, I had made this digital marketing budget simulator, which was to account for, if you were to allocate according to industry standards, potential conversions, your type of hotel, you put in your ADRs, length of stays, budgeting, so forth, and it generated basically a digital marketing budget to show you whether you fell short of your revenue expectations based on what you were spending and everything else like this. Well, anyway, a company came to me and asked about that but they didn't want the SEO portion.
Yep.
And I asked them why. And said, because it's just a cost of goods. It's just, I have to spend money on this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it aggravated me, I'll be honest with you, because to me, it is the black hole of agency participation that says, okay, we're going to tell you the things that you should be showing up for, and then we're going to go in this back room over here and do some hocus pocus crap and come back out, but we're going to charge you every month for us to do this, regardless of what we're doing that month for it or not. It's a bane of agency costing to clients and so forth. But anyway, I look at SEO as a revenue channel because it's your direct channel in the purest form.
You look at which?
SEO, your organic traffic. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
No, but I mean, really, in all honesty, because if you can generate traffic without having to pay for it in the sense of advertising,
of course.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You have your organic contribution and your paid
free. Don't forget, it is not
free. And that's the thing. So what I did was I tried to understand how we could construct, because there's some fundamental questions we have about SEO. What is it worth to me? Is there a measurable way of knowing what it's worth to me, and a measurable way of how much it's going to cost for me to get that what I think it's worth it to me?
Yeah.
So I have made an SEO calculator.
Oh, cool! Awesome. Oh,
So what you do is you put in your ADR length of stay, your annual and ADR length of stay. And I give you the tools right now manually to go determine your volume of traffic. You pick a keyword. You first look and I give you a tool to find out your top 5 are non-branded organic keywords. Non-branded. Branded is not the issue. Non-branded keywords. You take your first one, you put it in, and I give you a tool to give you your total volume of traffic for that word.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
This calculator will then, based on a lot of stuff I can tell you out on a sidebar, will show you the dollar value to your property for every position 1 through 25.
That's awesome. I have a question on that.
Okay.
Do you account for the cost of paid search for those terms?
Hold on. This is not in that math. To answer clearly, not in the calculation of its usage.
Pure organic.
No. I asked this for 2 reasons, right? So I have a tool. We don't have a calculator. We don't make this publicly available. This is something we use internally for clients. Candidly, we do it a lot more for outside the hospitality industry for a very specific reason that you'll see in a moment. There's a principle a buddy of mine came up with years ago. 2 guys I do a lot of work with, a guy named Mike Moran and a guy named Bill Hunt, wrote a book called Search Engine Marketing, Inc. And in it, they talk a lot about this principle of what's called co-optimization, right? Here's a thing people miss a lot about organic search. By the way, I am as pro organic search as anyone you will ever meet. So if any of this sounds like I'm not pro organic search, I'm clearly explaining myself badly, right? The easiest way to improve the performance of your paid search is to improve your organic search.
Organic search.
Right? What people miss a lot of times is if you have a low quality score, it costs you more for every click relative to your competition, right? Okay.
Yeah.
If your quality score is low enough, they won't show you at all, right?
Right.
Well,
no. If your quality score is too low, they will not let you get on that term at all.
Yeah. There is a certain basement to that, but it's a pretty low basement.
It is a pretty low basement. Okay. But take those 2 facts and take them to their logical conclusion that a lot of people miss. If your quality score is low enough, you have to pay more per click, regardless of whether anybody else is bidding against you.
You're bidding against your own profile. Yeah,
bidding against your own suck is how I like to say.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So when you're talking about what the value prop of SEO is, in addition to the stuff in the calculator, what I'm asking is, do you also include that? Because that's an additional benefit that you get, is you're reducing the cost you have to pay to show up when you do paid search.
No, and I'll tell you why I chose to separate them.
Okay, yeah.
Because one is that the inspiration was budgetary value to this. There's always been an unassigned value proposition to SEO when it comes to budgets. We're going into the budget season.
Yep.
And this is to help hoteliers to determine the value proposition of what they would do towards their SEO efforts. Because here's the reason why I say it's not intangible to the calculator, because in the successes of focusing on what this calculator displays, it inherently increases your value of conversion for your paid campaigns that you're already dedicating to. They're making monetary decisions for PPC based on industry average or channel value conversions that they've seen historically. So they're saying, hey, based on our conversions on PPC on Google, your average converting rate is such and such, so this dollar spend should generate this revenue. I have a calculator for that already. So this inherently is going to create a better yieldability, because remember, these are calculators. These are sticks and sands to determine progress and progression. This one is for people to basically understand that instead of saying, as any agency walks up to a client and says, okay, hey, your top 5 organic words that you're showing up for non-branded are these, and we're going to keep you optimized doing that, and it's going to cost you $4,000 a month for us to do SEO and all this other stuff. And you know that every month it's not $4,000 worth of time being spent; it's $4,000 worth of a check being written. Right. Here, the first question I have sitting on that side of the table is, what does this position mean to me? Okay, so you tell me I'm in position 7. What does that mean? What does it mean to me that I'm paying you $4,000 a month to be sitting in position 7? Well, this calculator will first off tell you your position, because you're going to tell it, and it's going to say that position for this word represents, according to your ADR and length of stay for acquisition per reservation, that this is how much this position is worth to you. Now, here's all the other positions that what it's worth to you. So now, as a budgeteer or a hotelier, I can look at it and say, okay, so I'm making $10,000 for being in that position. I really like those 2 positions up where I can make $50,000. But the catch that I'm working with right now, and that is I'm creating a cost variance on it so that I can tell you
that's exactly
how much money you need to spend.
That's exactly right.
To move up those 2 positions based on what you need to develop for content and space. And it's all based upon also the complexity of the competitive set and so forth, because it might be like a tractor pull. You may want to go up that way, but there is no way you can incrementally go up. It's going to cost you too much to try to be that.
A la hotels near the Empire State Building. If you're an individual hotel.
That's not going to fly well, right?
Right.
Right. So that's the other half I'm building right now, is the cost valuation to it.
Well,
but I actually have it.
Wait, one thing for hotels here, you may still be able to do some longer tail stuff. Not that it's easy, but
sorry,
luxury boutique, boutique hotels with rooftop bars and swimming pools.
Nope, you can't. You cannot rank for that term that you just said.
Well, that's true.
But
there's a key reason why you can't rank for it. I want people to be clear on this.
That's too much stuff.
Nope. You said hotels.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Google makes a distinction between people searching for hotels and hotel.
Right.
So if you're an individual hotel, you will never rank, or almost never rank, for a term that has hotels in it, unless you're listing a whole bunch.
Keep in mind, my cost factor.
Same thing for plurals of. And it used to not be this way, but the term honeymoon versus honeymoons and things like that. And you have to be very, very careful with your titles, your tagging, all that stuff.
But the nice part of this is the cost calculation did we lose Tim, or is he there still?
He gave up. I won the argument.
Oh, he's gone. Anyway, the cool part of the calculation for the cost that I'm dealing with is that at the different lower scalability based on the competitive ranking of that keyword, you obviously, to move positions within the lower scales, the 17s and downs kind of stuff. Obviously, the cost expense to do that is easier and more impactful than up and higher, where it may be almost impossible to change positions higher up, or let's say not just the impossibility of it, but the actual cost value of changing positions turns almost prohibitive. Like to get that $100,000 change and carrot that you think is going to change from position 5 to 4, it's going to cost you $90,000 to do it in content development.
You may need to completely re-architect your website.
Right. So for that end, it's just not worth it in the value proposition. So the neat part is the cost calculator.
The one caveat is the next time you do come up to redo your website, by God, you should take that into consideration and get the architecture right.
But the nice part is the calculator way I'm building it is you're going to be able to do your top 5 keywords, non-branded organic keywords, in the calculator to show you where you sit in all of 5 of those, all the other relative to positions cost, and the relative cost to shift positions within it. So you actually can calculate based on the revenue expectations of your organic. Hey, I thought I pissed you off and you left.
No. I got moved off for some reason. I don't know what happened there.
I declared victory in our debate.
He did. He said, I won.
No, actually, I think we.
No, it's gone.
this is one where we passionately agree. We passionately agree. By the way, we I mentioned I do this with there's a software tool that I use that this guy Bill Hunt built. We use it for larger scale enterprises more often than individual hotels, just because of cost reasons. But what we discovered was, for a very large client we're doing work with outside the travel industry, we saved them $1.5 million a year in paid search.
Yeah.
Right out of their paid search budget by fixing organic search. So right there, it's doing what you're doing, Lauren, just in a slightly different way, where we're saying
this is kind of a skyscraper mentality. This is gateway discussion, because for people to understand the value proposition. And then the next one is, then you need an audit to understand the real metrics associated with this information. And then the next step you need, as a skyscraper goes, is us to do that work for you, because you need to interpret the value. Then you start creating those modifiers you're talking about that says, hey, look, based on the incrementality growth of organic, you're diminishing your cost value here, which is amping up your return value there, which means that your budget, if maintained, is actually going to accelerate to this level.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, in their case, they took, apart from the money that they put into SEO, which was, a fair chunk of money, literally the rest of that $1.5 million they put in their pocket. Like, they
of course,
profitability,
because they didn't have to increase costs. They just got that as a windfall.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Now, they should have, as any good business would be, is to reinvest in, because then you're just amping. You're putting jet fuel on top of jet fuel.
They just put it in other areas.
Right. Okay.
Big company. Lots of
places to put it.
Lots of stuff to put it.
I was very stoked, because
that's
the
awesome.
Pieces to the puzzle of this fit, where all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, that's statistical data I can pull. Wait, that's a number I can actually gen. Wait, I can actually calculate revenue value.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, it's such a cool, because as you type in your volume of words, you begin to see really big incrementals, like, holy shit, that position.
Yeah, that's right.
That's kick-ass. You start getting to the 10,000 plus volume profiles, and for a hotel that has 150 rooms at a $200 ADR, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in variances between position placements.
Well, and in other industries, groups are very heavily focused. Hotels, not as much. I mean, you go look at. I think for a financial services company, did a lot of ATM stuff, shifted into credit card process. Credit card process, $25 a click. I mean, crazy, huge numbers.
Right.
But we wound up getting onto the first page in that ultra competitive area. But again, it took site architecture. It took content development.
Lauren, I'm going to give you my favorite SEO trick. Favorite SEO trick for free. Just add this to the calculator. Right? Generate a click profile, right? What percentage of clicks do people get on average for being in certain positions?
Oh, I have it.
Good.
That's actually in the math.
Yeah.
Good.
That's in the math.
But wait, here's the beauty, right? Now, find all the pages that rank well but have click-through rates below average.
Yeah.
Fix the meta description on those to drive click-through rate, and you're just harvesting traffic from pages you already rank for. You don't even have to do anything to rank better.
Right.
You just got to go get more clicks.
You hit everything. See, this right now is all manual. If I start doing API interfaces where you just give me your URL and you give me 2 bits of revenue data, I will pull what I need to generate what I need to show what I want to show and that kind of stuff. And then you start putting that into your SEO auditing profile as to pages that are falling below the threshold that they should be above, that show for those rankings. And now all of a sudden you're just handing this over going, that's the second level of auditing, saying, here you go, here's your audit. This is where you need to focus on what you're focusing for what you need to do.
Exactly right.
That's
exactly right. Well, if you want, Lauren, I can get you a deal, and you can just start selling my friend's Bill's tool. Hey, I really do have to run.
I know. I don't want to throw it in front of you. I want to throw
that's awesome.
I have the calculator. It's going to do your top 5 non-branded organic words and the cost to incrementally go between the positions and the revenue that each person represents.
That is very cool. Very cool. Great idea. I clearly love it. I'm way on board. So
I'll send you guys the link so you can start shooting at it, because it needs lipstick to make it look good. Right now, it's still far from the final completed stage, but it works. I can show you the top 10 positions right now based on the data requested. So
Awesome. Very cool. Well, gentlemen,
Tim, where can they find you? Where can they find you? Where can they find you?
You can find me at timpeter.com or at tcpeter on Twitter. And I hope you all have a wonderful Father's Day this weekend. All right? All right.
Well, some of us will. So.
Yeah. All right, Tim, thank you very, very much. Thank you for the time. Always appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Great seeing you guys. I'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Bye now.
Jeremiah's asking when I'm going to publish the calculator. I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if I'm going to do a pay gateway on it and then offer it to HSMAI as a membership can get access to it. I don't know if I'm going to lease out to companies to use it based on an open lease for time frame that their users can use it for a time frame. I don't know, because when you add this to the digital marketing simulator, you can pretty quickly get your baseline auditing done and.
I think you productize this, Lauren. I think you productize.
Yeah, I think I got to look at this one a little differently. It's like, okay, I've slapped out OTA displacement calculators, meta search revenue calculators, meta search cost calculators. What else did I do? The digital marketing simulator, obviously, and then this one now is your SEO calculator. I'm sitting there going. Yeah. Nobody broke this down this way. There's no tool out there right now. I know that Tim's referring to this, and if he's saying that it's behind a gateway that he only offers his enterprise level clients, that means how many people don't even know that this is a functionality process? And I'm not saying this is a brilliant, mind altering calculator, but it provides a value. I mean, when you pump the value propositions, if you put your ADR and your length of stay and your keyword volume in. Mm-hmm. It'll tell you your position values.
But you should productize this where you can go in and all they do is they link you into their Google Analytics. And you go,
well, that's it. I mean,
you
don't even actually, to be honest with you, you don't need the analytics to pull that data. I can rip it from platforms like SpyFu that it'll give me your top 5 organic.
Yeah, that's true.
The only problem is I have to identify brand versus non-brand, which SpyFu is not good at. But there are places to go and determine that. So eventually I could make it as a platform that you put your web address in, and then you put in
your credit card, and your
ADR and your length of stay. And I give you this because right now what I want to do is I think you go through this process of putting the information in for the 5 words and then hit submit, and then I send you a PDF report with it on there. Because if I leave the gateway open, somebody's going to be able to go in there and just keep using the keywords.
That's what you want. You want the report to come out and then
and then also put best practices in and content like, hey, you should be doing this, or this is what this means to change this. And like I said, I just this morning in the shower thought about how to cost evaluate the value disbursement between positions. And this is all on real numbers. These aren't fictionalized numbers. These are statistic numbers based off of actual conversion by position, based on industry type. I mean,
Lauren, I will give you free marketing tips here since you've offered all this. The whole graphic image thing needs to be you showering. Clean up your SEO. There you go. You've got the
free marketing advice.
You've got all
free marketing advice.
No charge. No charge.
I want to sell something. I don't want to scare them away. But no. But again, it's pretty neat. I'll be finishing it probably over the weekend on the cost value proposition, because I get that email I got to send out for my client this weekend. I still got to build the finished video on it. But anyway, I just want to make that announcement because I was so stoked that I got that put together last night. And I couldn't, when your mind's in a groove and if you stop, you're not going to remember where you stopped at, and you got to spend twice as much time to get back where that is. No, not at all.
My mind's never been in a groove. Everything's just a very difficult, labored process of assembling thoughts.
You lie like a rug. I couldn't let it go. If I knew if I stopped and said, "Oh, I'm tired, I'll go to bed," I would never get back to where I was at unless I spent twice as much time to figure out what I was thinking when I left. Yeah. So I was like, no, I got to push through and at least get this built so I can come back to it and know what I was doing. And so anyway, hey, you gave over some topic stuff too.
I've done that before and then looked at it later and gone, oh, this is really bad. I need to fix this stuff.
That's usually happens when I write something.
Now I was on a roll, but this rolled the wrong way.
When I write something, there's been more times than not I walk back to it going, what the hell was I? What is that rambling BS? What the hell?
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
Slacky
Not very good for it. Hey, one other, just on a couple of things that I had, then there was some things you had, was the Airbnb percentage growth. Freaking scary.
Okay. Again, I'm a huge supporter of Scott Galway from L2 Inc. Right, and he actually called the Amazon Whole Foods thing 2 weeks ago that they should go do that. Which actually just to tail onto that I wanted to add. The other thing about Whole Foods is it's a really cool place to hang out in. Very expensive to buy, but the atmosphere and environment is really great. People love to shop there because it's a really nice place to shop. The way things are organized, the samples, the lighting, everything's really good. Kind of like, I should say Starbucks, but Starbucks has changed a lot. Starbucks, again, when it started in Seattle, was a very cool coffee shop to go to. You'd hang out. There was they're
the ones that really made the coffee shop environment. Yeah, they're the ones that they created that.
Oh yeah, fireplace, overstuffed sofa. Things that you would have in a traditional, older, organic coffee shop, right? That was out there before. But those are really, and now it's just like it's the bar at the mall, and it's stools, and it's all very minimalist. But yeah, it was a really cool place to hang out. So I think that's another very interesting thing. But Galway, again, on his winners and losers of digital age video, he does 3 to 5 minutes every week. Very time well spent. Was basically his thesis was Uber and Airbnb are going to flip positions in market cap. Right now, Uber's at 70 billion, Airbnb's at 30. He thinks that's going to flip. And he makes a really, really good point. The barrier to entry for Uber to invest in a particular city, they can spend millions developing that and going everything like that. Airbnb doesn't have to do that. They've got this broad distribution. They don't have to spend a bunch of money in Tallahassee or Texarkana or San Diego. It doesn't matter. They've got this platform, and it's a do-it-yourself. You don't have to develop all these drivers and make sure you've got supply equaling demand and really work the market. None of that. The other thing is Airbnb. You look at the millions of rooms that they have, and again, okay, those rooms aren't available 365 days a year and that sort of thing. So it is apples and oranges comparing that to the major hotel groups. But they have 3,000 employees. That's it. That's not very many. So tying all the stuff together is you look at the cost of human capital that Airbnb has, outrageously low. You've got the cost of capital of the investment coming in outrageously low, of people just giving them money to do it, which is really what Amazon has done now. Very, very cheap capital to go do all sorts of things. Airbnb is also now profitable. So they aren't just burning, where Uber is still, burning several billion, they'll do, 5 billion in revenue and lose 3 or something like that. That's not great. But Airbnb is starting to fire on all. Now, do they have problems? Absolutely. They've got lots of legislation and affordable housing and things like that. But this thing just keeps going. And boy, in the next downturn, for hotels, they better watch out. There was an article, let's see if I have the link. I don't know if you have it right there. It's about the hotel groups. What did they say? Most hotel CEOs dismiss Airbnb's impact, but demand level playing field. Well, dismissing the impact, as I have said countless times, not a good thing to do. That's the hotel industry's standard process is to ignore or the 4 steps of disruption. Step 1, they ignore it. Step 2, when people go, look at that, they point at it and say that's a problem, they continue to ignore it. Step 3 is they panic, and step 4 is they just whine in dejected resignation.
The
that
AHLA methodology of this is so unfair.
Not good. But anyway,
one was the one that you had.
The most
Okay.
important one I had next week, next Thursday, at I believe it's noon Central, 1 p.m. You can see, I'll post the link. There's a Focusrite webinar that I'm running with Princess Cruises and Adobe on engaging travelers, personalization analytics, and process come of age. And we've got some pretty good stuff put together, I believe.
I will be one of those happy people.
So there's a link there to go to that, and Princess actually has their digital marketing platform that they've developed, mostly based on Adobe's technology. But they're saying, here's how they kind of pulled everything together for their multi-channel stuff. So I'm kind of setting it up with a few stats and what's important and kind of how things have to work.
Nice.
And then Princess is going to kind of say, well, here's what we did. And Adobe is going to go, hi, we helped, sort of things.
There's a couple links up there for people to chase down some of the Airbnb stuff conversation you just had, and also it's comparison to some of the like Marriott's growth versus Airbnb's growth.
Well, and you look at that market cap of, I think Marriott's, can't remember Marriott's market cap, but it's right around where Airbnb is now with 30 billion or something like that, and maybe they're 40, I can't remember, but you start going up to 70 billion. Boy, the next one higher than that is like Priceline. They're at like 90. So all that is from not existing in when they launched 2008, something like that. Maybe a little bit earlier, but that's quite the
that's pretty
quite
crazy.
the ramping, and not running into all the issues that Uber is in terms of some of the things that they've done in their corporate culture and all those, which are now coming back to bite. Oh yeah, the other thing that Galloway mentioned is Uber has to spend a lot of money in a city. But if you pull out Uber, what's there? Like they did in Austin. They jumped out. Other people came in. It was relatively easy for Lyft and all these other guys to kind of come. If you pull out Airbnb,
there's not Vimo. That's about it, and that's not the same model.
VRBO, HomeAway are going to try to kind of get in there and flip key and some of these other, but not nearly at the same. Same capability. They should not be ignored.
On a timely sense of things, we need to be we would be remiss if we didn't say that next week is HITEC and HSMAI's ROC.
The week after next.
Week after next. I'm sorry, week after next. No, next week. Week after next.
You would be remiss in telling people.
I would be remiss in saying that, wouldn't I? Yes, not next week, folks. The week after.
You had me freaked out for
for those who don't know, HITEC, Hospitality and Industry Technology, the largest technology forum for hospitality. It's in Toronto this year. In the same time frame, in the same dates, is also HSMAI's Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International's ROC Revenue Optimization Conference, which is a big deal. They usually have about 600-ish people, revenue managers, corporate reps, and so forth. Really strong audience, if that's your niche of. Really need to be around people that live and breathe the same stuff you would if you're in that space. HITEC's fun from a geek perspective.
Yeah, 6,000 people for HITEC.
6,000 people for HITEC. Lots of pre-session show stuff, things, training. There's certifications. I know Holly's listening to it in the background. There is the certifications that they run through the digital marketing certification. There's a review course up for it, I think. Holly can correct me if I'm wrong on that. As also the revenue management certification. I think they're doing their crash course and then testing as well. But neat stuff.
I will wind up being there after all.
What?
I wasn't going to be there.
I thought we all had the mutual pact that we weren't going to show up, and here you broke the pact.
I don't sign any pacts, but actually, I'm not going. Sorry.
Anyway, didn't you cut your hand and we all like shook hands and stuff? And then
still trying to get the blood off the screen here, but
that's what it was.
No, not going to ROC. I actually have meetings now on that on Tuesday or whatever thing. But I'm going up.
Where are you going to stay with late notice for the hotels? You're going to be out like in Ottawa.
Nope, I'm downtown.
What?
I got a good rate. Pretty good rate.
Somebody's taking care of somebody.
Under $200 a night, and it was not a friend and relative deal.
Dang.
It's not an Airbnb.
Again, a testament to your ability to find that one revenue manager.
I'll tell you what I did. When I do these conferences, I'm not sure if I'm going or not. What I very often do is I'll go out on booking.com and book. And again, I'm hoteliers. I apologize. I'm so conflicted on this, but I put on my consumer hat and go, forget it. I want to behave like the open market. I want to see what the open market really does here. And so I go out and I found a hotel. And I can't remember where it is. It's like a Holiday Inn or something. A good, solid 3-star hotel, 180 something a night, and 180 Canadian a night. And it's great. And that's done. All those things are now $340 or something like that.
Yeah, they're high up there.
And I got it just in case I needed it. And I could have canceled it.
I'm grabbing some info from some booths, so I might send you that now that I know you're going. I was going to send it to Stuart because Stuart was going to be up there, who already expressed his condolences. He couldn't join us today. Holly, of course, the same. She apologized that she had some stuff. She couldn't join us. Ed, I don't know how he blew us off. He didn't even say he was blowing us off. So we'll just have to give him
Ed sent a late email.
He did. See, I don't see those late minute emails because I'm sending everything up. But all right, we are at the 2-hour mark, which is awesome because afterwards it starts getting big and bulky, and YouTube doesn't like downloading over two hours worth of stuff. But anyway, so Mr. Robert, how can people find you?
rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole on your nearest social media outlet.
Social media outlet. I can't even begin to thank you very much for being, as always, on the show and being a stalwart support.
Yeah, I'm not one of these guys who leaves early like Tim or
shows up incredibly late. You're like, boom, man, on the spot, man.
I don't even remember the last time Ed was on. I understand Stuart's busy. So.
Yeah, right. Ed's not busy. What the hell's that? Yeah, but the last time Ed was on, he just shut our show off. He just said, "Screw it, I'm out of here," and shut the whole show off.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For anybody that wants to have archives of this show and notes of it and links that we've referred to in the chat room, they can go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. There you'll see the link to this show and previous shows of this quarter. I try to clean and put into an archive every quarter. I put it's on a new page and just put all the shows of that quarter into the archive, and you have a link to that on that page as well. If you want to go back, you can go back almost 2 years and see all of our happy conversations, dialogue, and topics. So it is of interest for that. We also have the podcast that you have linkage to there, as well as our marketing minutes, Monday marketing minute stuff. So with that, Mr. Robert, again, thank you for, as always, the time and dedication to it. And will you be around next week or no?
I believe I will be.
Yay! All right.
And I might even be around. I should be around the week of HITEC too, because I'm coming back on the Thursday. So I will.
Awesome.
I will try to be here for it. Can do a show recap. So for
the show recap. So that would be great. All right. So anyway, thank you, Jeremiah, for being in the chat with us as well. Also with Bill, again with Holly, and for anyone else that may not have chatted with us, but we're in the audience with us as well. Thank you again for your time. We will see everyone for show number 98 next Friday, 11:30 Eastern time. Same bad time, same bad channel, as a tribute to Adam West, which I thought was pretty cool that Los Angeles is putting up the bat lights.
Yep.
I thought that was very cool. I thought it was a nice tribute. So anyway, with that, thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.